to today's developer Q&A. I'm Mod John and I'm joined with Mod Raven.
Hello.
Mod Rowdy and Mod Oddy.
Hello.
Today we're going to be focusing on quests. And I think it's quite fitting because we had release of a quest this week, which was the Gobi quest.
Yes.
That we released that the Watch have been proudly working on for a few months. And we also had at RuneFest a panel that was dedicated to quests on the second stage, and it went down so well we thought we'd do another one. So, guys, Gobi quest, how did that go?
Pretty well.
Yeah. Are you happy with how it got received?
Yeah. We've had a lot of really good feedback. People really enjoyed the dialogue. The puzzles seemed to go down quite well. A lot of good feedback about bottle quests and people wanting to see more of them. There's been a few teething issues with there's a Gobi missile command section, we call it, where you sort of fire the Gobis well, it's going to be a few spoilers, but fire their spells at air route, and people are finding that a bit hard. So today we put in a hot fix to make that a little bit easier. So yeah, all in all, really good release. So pretty happy.
Cool. About bottle quests, I saw a few comments saying that this doesn't seem like a very good example of a bottle quest because a lot of new assets were created for it,
Yes.
a lot of different things, and a lot of time has been spent on it, and that's not really what a bottle quest is supposed to be.
We did it in the time scale for a bottle quest. We've done it very quickly.
Okay.
We also developed it alongside the Halloween event, which we'll be obviously seeing at the end of this month. So as a team, we've been very busy. I would say we did more environment work than you would probably see in future bottle quests because hopefully they'd use more of the surface world. Mazcab didn't really have any interiors, and we kind of needed that for the story we wanted to tell. Yeah. But yeah, in future bottle quests, I don't think you'd see that much environment work.
Did you reuse a lot of different assets that you
reused
for raids in Mazcab?
Yeah, we reused tons of forest stuff, and we tried to adapt things, some of the stuff we had for the Gobi canals into things we could use for interiors, but we ended up having to do whole new environments. And making puzzles, it's always difficult to adapt already existing assets into new puzzles. You always need some new things if you're going to make a puzzle that's actually interesting. So yeah, just in terms of environment work, that ended up being the killer.
Sure, nobody said that we couldn't actually do any new environments for bottle quests, just that we'd try to reuse as much as we can.
We managed to do it in the time we were given, so yeah, it was we're all right with it.
Okay, that's cool. So I've got a few questions about the Go quest to start off with. So in the quest, you've got these weapons, spells, and abilities that you need to use an aim and hit mechanism to do. Is there any chance that we can get some of those in the wider game?
So I did see someone ask this question, and this is what I was talking about a minute ago when I said people were finding it a bit hard and difficult to use, and I think based on the fact that some people really struggled with this mechanic, personally I really can't see how. I really enjoyed it. It was my favourite part of the quest, and we didn't have anyone find it very difficult in playtesting, but yeah, I would say purely because so many people gave us feedback that it was way too difficult. I even saw someone say it was more difficult than pre-EOC Nomad in Nomad's Requiem.
Okay.
I would say we probably won't be using those as core game mechanics anywhere else, but yeah. Okay,
maybe another quest sometime or something. But
maybe, yeah. We'd definitely have to make some adjustments to it though.
Cool. Question about the lore. So someone's asked if Yakamaru is Mazcab's Anima Mundi guardian like Virago is for Gillenor.
Not exactly. So if you've paid attention to all the lore, there's some things you can find around Mazcab. There's obviously things you can find in the quest. Basically, the Anima Mundi on Mazcab is leaking out of the planet because Tusker, when she smashed into it, she basically ripped a hole in it. Anima Mundi's leaking out, and that causes these constructs, which are kind of like Virago and the Scopuli, I think is the plural for that. But basically, they are kind of similar. They are constructs of Anima Mundi, but there's the one in the quest, Zinacto, and there's also Yakamaru that we've seen so far, but there are sort of other ones.
Sure.
Yakamaru has obviously been corrupted by the air route, so.
And a couple of questions about bottle quests, since this was our first bottle quest that we've released. So how often do do you guys think we're going to see bottle quests in the next year? Is it going to be something like once a month, once a quarter, once
I think it
a year? I
depends
don't know.
on kind of on the updates surrounding it. So the idea behind bottle quests is to use existing assets or reuse existing assets. So when we're doing, the plan is to do large updates every month. Hopefully, if we can find the time, and that's a big if, because some of these updates being quite big, they become quite difficult to do in the time allowed. If we can find the time, I think the plan is for us to definitely try and do as many bottle quests as we can. I wouldn't give a definite number or a definite time, but I would say if we can do them quite regularly. It's a big if. It's quite a lot of work. But.
Yeah, it's up to the team who's, like the new kind of development structure we're doing, it's up to the team who's releasing something in a particular month if they think they can do like a supporting update with the assets they're making for a new bottle quest. It's going to be done on more of a case-by-case basis, I'd say.
Okay. And there was another couple of questions about bottle quests that I have in here. Do you think this could be like an occasion to continue some of the quest lines that we've kind of put to one side? For example, desert storyline, or
yeah, sure. I mean, it's one of the things. It's going to depend what wins the Rune Labs area poll that we're going to do later next year. But if Menethos or some desert area were to win, that's definitely a possibility. We could. There are certain desert stories that we could tell that we want to already tell in the series that we could do as a bottle quest.
Okay.
We worked Alcarid not too long ago, and the Jewel Arena. That's an environment ripe for putting a bottle quest in.
Okay. And signature heroes like, for example, Ozan as well. Could that be something we could see as a bottle quest, like to continue their storyline a little bit whilst we wait for their...
Potentially. I mean, whether or not the signature heroes take part in any quest is going to depend on the narrative, the story that we want to tell.
Okay.
Whether we do a signature hero specific quest as a bottle quest, I mean, it's just going to depend how it falls.
It depends what the story works. I mean, there are certain things that perfect for bottle quest. Penguins, for example, are a good one for bottle quest because penguins are insane and the storylines to them are generally mad and weird. So stealing random assets and shoving penguins in works just about anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Watch out for penguins in every content next year then. If Mordo Raven gets his chance to put his little thing into it, like his little ravens that you've been putting everywhere as well.
I don't know what you mean, there are no ravens anywhere.
Sorry, what ravens?
Exactly.
And I've got another question from the chat about bottle quests. This is a much more specific one from Zoroastrian Emissary. Can we see bottle quests to relieve the world events or to bring a canonical end to the God Wars dungeon fight for the God Sword? Not removing the God Wars dungeon, but allowing the Lord to still advance.
I think it's unlikely for
Yeah.
world events.
Okay.
The kind of emphasis on those is that you were there and you took part in them.
They've
and
canonically
you've formed
happened.
your memories.
Yeah.
And if you weren't there, then you kind of pick these things up anecdotally from other players.
Yeah.
And there are so many quests that we could tell, and we've kind of already told those stories that we probably wouldn't do those as quests.
Okay.
And you could already relive the cutscenes world events anyway, so you can get the gist of them.
In terms of like God Wars Dungeon, I think we have a weird bosses sort of sit in their own like section of lore where like you can have people like Virago coming and saving the world and stuff and being in other content, but then you're killing them on a daily basis or something like that. So it's always like giving God Wars Dungeon an end and but still having that lore exist. It's like a bit of a grey area. So
it would be a bit weird to have an end to that and then just to continue it.
Yeah, they're still there fighting and you're killing them. So yeah.
Sure. Okay, so that's about it for the Gobi quest. Unless there's anything else you want to mention about the Gobies that you didn't get a chance to?
Not exactly. There's some people might not have realised that we actually have a Gobi quest now in Gielinor. So if you search the desert hard enough, you'll find that they've set up their camp in the far reaches of the desert. And also after the quest, you'll find Tunks there, and he's sort of starting. He's the adventurous one of the three Gobies, and he's sort of gone and started his own adventure on Gielinor. So it's worth going and speaking to him.
Okay, some nice post-quest content as well.
Yeah, just a little bit.
A little bit. still nice to have.
And also we have the critters around Mazcap, which you can now collect for Hunter XP, and you make your own little, you take them to someone who's making his own little menagerie out of all the Mazcap critters, so yeah, definitely worth doing that as well.
A bit like the Impling Collector in Elf City, but for...
It's super easy Hunter XP, everyone should do it.
Okay, cool. So the way I structured this was to talk about past quests and upcoming quests. I didn't have many questions about past quests because of RuneFest hype. Just going to go through those quickly right now. So if you've got any questions in the chat about quests that we've done in the past, feel free to ask them, and we'll ask them like sometime during this stream. So the first question from Daxi: where do fairy dragons fall in the RS Dragon lore?
Okay, so I've been looking into the fairy dragon lore, and there isn't a great deal of it. But from what I can gather, they were a dragonkin, as most dragons are.
Yeah.
Experiment. I believe this time round they were to try and get more kind of intelligence and magical stuff out of something awesome, and instead they got that. So they've largely discarded them as a kind of runt species.
Okay.
That's kind of it at the moment. We might expand any more, but the existing lore that we've got, they're a dragonkin experiment gone wrong.
Okay. Perfect. So seriously wants to know, will we ever get to see or know what the alternate endings were for the Tusker World event? Maybe just show us the written or sketch concepts.
That is unlikely, to be honest. Because when you have a world event, you don't want to put a load of time into making something that people are never going to see.
Sure.
And the stuff that we did have for that isn't really of a standard we want to show, and we didn't really get to a point with the ones that we didn't continue making, at which we'd want to, release it to players. So hopefully everyone's happy with the one they got, basically.
But you definitely have ideas of what would have happened if each faction would have won, or
ideas, yeah. But they don't go too much further than that, basically.
Okay, and that's not something you'd want to sort of discuss in more detail.
Because
it's just ideas.
It's pretty similar to okay, so if Tusker won, that would have been a little bit different. But if any of the other factions won, it would have been like a pretty similar outcome. Just a different cutscene, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I dread to think what would have happened if Tusker won.
It would still be going on right now, right?
Well, or Gillenor wouldn't exist anymore, and no one have a game to play.
Yeah,
so
that'd be quite
that
sad. Okay, and the last one in this section, so Lieutenant Shadow wants to know, and this, I've been wanting to ask this for a few dev Q&As now, so will we ever get to help Mad Dr. Rabbit get back to his family? So Mad Dr. Rabbit, for those of you who don't know, is a rabbit who's in Elf City, and who was there before the beginning of the Elf City project last year.
I think we should reunite him with his family, perhaps in some lovely pie or a stew. I think it would go down lovely. I think it's very tasty.
I was going to say
go down lovely.
Yep.
That was a much better. The start of that answer was much better than what you told me earlier. And I was like, he's not going to talk about the stew, which is really good, and he did. All right. Putting his level 99 in evil laughing to the test. Okay, so now we want to talk about upcoming quests, like specifically ones that are going to happen in 2016 that were talked about at RuneFest. So we've got quite a lot of questions from Reddit and the forums. But first I wanted to show a little graphic that we've got detailing the results of the survey that we did early on in the year, showing which quest and which quest series you guys wanted to see the most. So if we could have that up on the screen right now, yeah. So this is something that Mod Osborne, who sadly couldn't be here today, asked me to show. So basically, as you can see, gods have very much piqued your interest in this survey, and you want to see more of that. And I think that we can safely say we're going to see more of definitely. Those. Yeah. Maybe not elder gods, not that much of it, but at least gods, we're going to see quite a lot of that, I hope.
Well, yeah, I mean, with the 6 age pillars, they're all kind of fairly intertwined, so it's kind of hard to not do some of that, but the focus next year is not so much on the elder gods.
Yeah. And so then after that, we got the Dragonkin, Signature Heroes, Majorette, Vampires, and then it just goes down from there.
I was quite interested to see the Signature Heroes. So
yeah, I mean, I was quite interested as well, yeah.
I assume like vampires would be higher than signature heroes.
Yeah,
You've just
I
been
think
trying
that
to kill them off for ages. So,
I am trying
maybe
to
it's
work
glad
my
you
way
haven't
merging all of the signature heroes.
killed
I've
all
got
of them.
one, and I just need to get the rest of them.
I was glad to see at least Desert was greater than none of the above. And if we put Ozan in there, maybe it can.
Yeah, 'cause I think
hit
that's maybe a
between
bit
those
of
two.
it's quite confusing because Desert and Ozan are quite closely tied.
I'm hoping that with the Halloween event that's coming out soon, it's Iclaran versus Amaskert.
Yeah.
We've got some new lore coming up with that. Maybe we can drum up some interest for the Desert Quest, like we recently had.
Yeah.
We sat down and spoke a lot about the lore we still want to tell with that sort of area of the game, and it is quite exciting stuff. So I think we just need to like dig into it a bit more and iron out some of the complexities of it, basically.
Yeah.
I did go off at you about that, didn't I? Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. I got a lot of notes.
So I was quite surprised to see the signature heroes as well, but I guess it englobes quite a lot of different storylines, and I quite want to see those storylines continued as well. So I was quite happy to see that up there. And I think the vampires. The reason was I think this survey was actually released when we'd announced the Mareki 6, which was released a few weeks ago. So I think maybe that was influenced by it because they knew they were going to get that. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a popular series anyway.
Yeah.
Knowing that we were already working on the next one didn't hurt, I'm sure. But I get the impression that a lot of people would still feel that way as well, even having just got one.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure there are a few who think the opposite.
I'd be curious to poll the exact same question right now, to the same players and see what they're expecting now after the RuneFest reveals and stuff.
Cool.
I'm getting a suggestion from ModJD to straw poll the Signature Heroes quest, so which ones you guys would want to see. So yeah, let's do that. So we're going to straw poll who would you want to see. So we've got Ariane, we've got Ozan, so he's getting that ready right now. Ariane, Ozan,
Testing your knowledge.
Sir Owen, Raptor,
More
Xenia,
Raptor.
and Linza, who's also
be
a
a short
Signature Hero, but I
quest.
don't believe she's chat-
Zombie Xenia.
Zombie Xenia. there
Zombie
you go.
Xenia.
Yeah.
I don't believe Linza has had a quest yet,
She was part of Deadliest Catch very, very briefly,
Yeah.
but
she hasn't really. It's like the
Not-
Raptor hasn't really had a proper quest that's been dedicated to that character.
Yeah.
So
He's been involved in quests.
he's been involved in quests. I know he's involved in Songs from the Dead.
Yep.
I think we're likely to see him pop up in some more content soon.
Yes, I think he might definitely. pop up.
Might definitely.
Might definitely.
There is no
TM
reason
soon.
I know this at all. I have not been writing dialogue.
There's
Nope.
there's also some good opportunities, like even further in the future, to have him pop up. Him, her.
Yeah.
Not sure if we've revealed that.
So basically, this straw poll's going to be in the chat quite soon. Is to vote for your favourite signature hero and see which quest line you want to see continued. I don't think I've got any there. So
I don't think so.
yes. Try to do a stream with 3 people who know much more about lore than you. Yeah.
Signature heroes, yes.
Right. Whilst we wait for the results for that one, let's jump into a couple of these questions. So, Junkmutt wants to know when is the next Elemental Workshop quest going to be coming out? I need to mentally prepare for it. I agree with that statement.
Don't believe we have any set deadline at the moment. I know Mod Doctor has plans and things he would definitely like to do with Elemental Workshop.
Yeah.
But beyond that, and him maniacally cackling at his desk, that we don't have much more yet.
Okay.
I honestly think if people couldn't handle the Gobi quest, they're not going to be able to handle another Elemental Workshop.
I've already pitched the puzzle needs to be more difficult than the Light Within puzzle,
Yeah.
and definitely more difficult than previous Elemental Workshop puzzles. So, Mod Doctor seems on board with that. So that's
God,
good.
I think the forums will implode.
Couldn't be a bad thing though if the forums implode, which just means that Web team has to make us a new one,
Yeah,
which would be nice
maybe
as well.
it'd be a good thing.
I'm
Okay.
surprised
Oh
by how
wow.
popular
So we've got the results from that straw poll come in. So the Raptor is winning by quite a stretch, 51%. Second, Sir Owen.
I think that's. I thought
Death of
yes,
Chivalry
so Owen
sequel,
after
yeah.
Death of Chivalry is
Yeah.
definitely.
I really enjoyed the Death of Chivalry myself.
Yeah, it'd be good to see another one of them.
And Ozan last, surprisingly.
Yay.
Why
Right, well,
do
he's
people
for the
hate the
chopping block
desert?
then. Kill him off next time.
And yeah, Lindsay. So I'm guessing that there's a bit of interest to see something about Lindsay's storyline.
Lindsay's being used like as one of the people in Chronicle.
Yeah.
So I think, and she's been made. She looks really cool in that. So I think maybe that could maybe a bit more interest in her from that. Okay,
cool. Thanks for that, guys. Next question. Sweetak wants to know.
Wait a minute. Is this about Rite of Passage?
Is it about Rite of Passage?
It's not about Rite of Passage.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to mention Rite of Passage whilst we're here?
What we're mentioning about Rite of Passage?
I don't know. You were talking about Rite of Passage before we started the stream, so...
Was I? I don't remember these things.
You're always talking about Rite of Passage.
To be fair, I am always talking about Rite of Passage. I can't remember what we were saying before about Rite of Passage, but never mind.
So there was a question about Rite of Passage earlier.
Is it by Sweetak?
It's either by Sweetak or Armadin. I can't remember which one, I'm sorry. So it was, is there any chance of the Rite of Passage to be developed in 2016? I think the answer
that is no, not in. It's not on the plans for 2016 now.
Yeah,
we've discussed this. Maybe 2017. Dave seems quite keen on 2017, and I'm going to hold him to that or torture him.
We'll keep pushing.
Yeah,
we'll keep pushing it.
Keep pushing.
Cool. So I'll come back to the original question, which was: to what extent will the quest in City Endgame be divergent? Will we be able to choose which god to support and empower during the quests? Will we be able to help Armadil? That's quite biased opinion. Will our choices have a real effect outside the quests?
The plan, and this is the important word. The plan is to give the choices to have meaning, and which is why we want to develop it with a kind of deleted scenes thing. That's what Dave's been pitching it as, which is where once you've done the quest, the first time doing the quest, it's your canon playthrough. After that, you can go back theoretically and reset kind of the choices you've made, so you can see a different storyline. But it will be more like what could have been rather than what actually happens. Your previous choices are what matters. So we're hoping to be able to make the choices definitely have meaning. It won't be utterly different quests per person because we just don't have the time for that. But there will be marked, notable differences. It will feel different each time.
I think the other part of this question is, will this, given that everyone's quest is we're going to try and make everyone's quest different, will each quest affect the world differently as well? Because this is the tying up of the whole storyline. Will it have a divergent outcome?
Yeah.
I guess we always try and give people like choice and control over what happens in their storylines. So I'm not sure if we've got that far yet with the design of it to really figure that out. But I mean, I think we'll at least try.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Another question from Sweetak.
Rite of Passage.
Are there any plans for confrontations between the gods outside the quest in this endgame, for example, as we saw in World Event 2, like an open world?
Plans for another world event?
Well, it's not really a world event, it's that are the gods going to feature in any way outside of the quests?
We've got kind of like an earmarked gods on the RS Surface potential project for next year. I don't know what month that was attached to.
It won't be a world event kind of thing.
No.
I'm not sure we'll be seeing conflicts as such. I don't think we'll suddenly see like, Armadil wage in and slap Saradomin across the face or vice versa. As funny as that would be, I don't think it'll happen. I think we're more likely to have the gods in the world maybe preparing for Stiski's endgame or something. But
there's obviously going to be the other quests that are part of the build-up to the endgame, where all the characters involved, like the gods, will be butting heads and stuff in them. So it's not going to be like tensions will rise on the way to that quest. But whether there'll be an actual open world one, I doubt it, I think. Okay.
I just saw a question in the chat. Is there a timeline for the Slisk's 4 quests to come out? So I think what we said last week was that it was going to come out throughout the year.
Yeah, well, there's an internal timeline, but we're not going to share it until we've
certainly we're not going to reveal the month like I've just seen on there. You can wait a bit for that.
The plan is to actually have a countdown on the website though, so we can. It looks like things are building towards it, and you can literally see the countdown. So if everything goes to plan,
it won't be to the minute.
It won't be to the I think it'll be more a countdown of this many quests until this.
This many quests.
I want it to the millisecond or nothing.
Then nothing is what you get.
To the millisecond.
Okay, cool. I also wanted to talk about the Mareki final.
Oh dear.
quest
Okay.
since we recently released the number 6. I get confused with numbers.
Yeah.
So number 6.
Number 6.
So number 7, which is going to be next year, is going to conclude that. Have you like got anything you want to say about that? Is there anything? Have you started thinking about it? Do you know what's going to happen? Obviously, don't tell us. But
I've started thinking about it. The team as a whole hasn't yet because we're all heads down working on invention.
okay,
It's something we'll probably do towards the end of the year to kind of discuss all of the updates we're going to do around it. Like, are we going to go to Vampirium again as some sort of post-quest content through the
Yeah.
World Gate? I mean, it's an obvious thing to do, but we want to
Is it
make
gonna be
sure that
done?
the updates that we do around the quest have some impact and meaning.
yeah,
So we haven't actually decided exactly what we're doing. There's a rough kind of plan for the quest, but again, it's something we need to discuss as a team first.
okay.
So everybody's got something to do on it that they're going to find enjoyable.
I think there's a lot of interest to return to Castle Dracan as well. Is that something that we'd be considering, or?
Yeah, it's something we're considering because it's something we did say we would do for 6. Whether or not that would be within the 7th quest, after it, before it, we haven't decided yet.
Or maybe even a bottle quest or something.
Potentially, yeah, we could do. I doubt we would do a bottle quest in the same. Like the Mareki 7 is not going to be a bottle quest.
No, of course, yeah.
And we probably wouldn't also do a bottle quest in the same month. But
Okay.
it may be something we could use as a location for a quest.
It's certainly a
Future.
giant asset that we'd love to
Yeah,
reuse.
yeah.
It would be a waste, really, not
Just
to
tie it
find
into
a
any
use
quest
for
you
it.
can.
Yeah.
Gobies, they're going there for
Penguins.
some reason.
Gobies.
Penguins.
Well,
yeah.
eventually,
Vampire gobies.
you know, once
Vampire
Tunks has
penguins.
ventured far enough into Gilnor, maybe he'll find his way to Castle Dracan.
Vampire
penguins.
go-
I
vampire
like the
penguins.
vampire penguins idea. That has merit.
We will find something to do within that
Can
castle.
penguins have fangs, though?
We can give them fangs.
Sure.
Werewolf Bottle Quest somehow goes there.
Yeah,
Werewolf
that's
bottle
another
quest.
possibility. I mean,
Shout out to
Penguins
Chaos Lucas.
versus werewolves. We could combine the two. The ultimate showdown.
Yes.
Well, you could do werebears as well, couldn't you?
Well,
Were polar bears versus. Sorry, this is going out of hand.
We're getting off track.
lycanthrope penguins. Could we have penguins? No, let's move on.
Okay. So after this 7th quest, does that mean that we're not going to see vampires again at all in quests, or?
yeah, I'll probably kill all of them off.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Oh, whoops. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
unlikely that we would get rid of an entire race just for a narrative. I mean, there's still always narrative potential with them as characters. And at the very least, there'd have to be some around for Slayer tasks. So,
Okay, yeah.
you know, we'll see what happens on that one.
Okay, cool. Thank you. This instruction, this is not about the vampire quest anymore, wants to know, will the soul altar be released with Nomad's Elegy?
It's not on the current plans. Whether that changes is another matter, but there are a number of places where the soul altar could fit. Nomad's Elegy is one possibility,
Okay.
but we need to have defined the narrative more for it to really make sense. But there are other places we can put it. So at the moment, maybe, kind of, probably not.
Sure.
Yeah, it might. I mean, like just to suggest other places, it could be as a reward from the finale for the Desert series.
Yeah.
So you might want to up your votes for that, or potentially
Shameless plug.
potentially an underworld quest. Shameless plug for you there,
Or
maybe.
you could find it
I'd
on
love to do
Abner, maybe if you push Rite of Passage.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I've got another question about signature heroes. Will storylines for signature heroes converge on each other in the future?
Maybe.
Because
some
you,
of them?
you see them like interact sometimes, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah.
Is that something that we could? Well, we've already done that, haven't we?
So they
technically?
do exist. I mean, obviously exist in the same world. And their stories already kind of intermingle. They know one another. I've certainly been pushing certain like plans for signature heroes at Dave, going, "You could do this, Dave. You could tell this story, Dave."
They all
Wouldn't
involve
it be
in their
fun?"
deaths, though.
Of course, it involves death and mass slaughter. No one is surprised by this.
He even
But-
wanted to slaughter a bunny.
Yeah. What? But I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure whether signature heroes will necessarily have kind of like a conclusion, like of all them sort of getting together and slaughtering each other. I mean, if I, you know, have
Getting
my way,
together and
then
slaughtering
yeah.
each other.
Sounds like a fun get together.
Yeah.
But I think they will, certainly some of them will clash, but some of them work kind of better on their own than
Cool.
it's part of the whole.
And a related question, are their stories going to be moved into 6th Age to... well, some of them are already.
Yeah,
but
some of them are already.
Ozan,
6th Age.
Ariane, are
Yeah,
they going
it
to be
depends
moved?
on the narrative.
Yeah.
I mean, Ozan is somewhat linked to the Desert series now, and that may or may not finish in the 5th Age or 6th Age or on the cusp of the 6th Age. So
Okay.
we'll just have to play it by ear, I think.
Zenya and Ariane's Heart of Stone storyline is 6th Age, so
Yeah,
yeah.
but
some
her
are
other storyline is
5th
kind of
yeah.
5th Age. That's a bit, yeah.
Gotta love our timeline.
Yeah.
So, do you have any plans for what will happen after the 3 6th Age story pillars are finished? In a sense, I think, is it going to go to 7th Age, or is it...
Well, we've kind of got to get to the end of the 6th Age first. I think we need to focus on that. Certainly, we've all got our own individual plans. There's stuff that we've talked over. There's stuff that Dave has mentioned. It's different. We all have our own goals and our own plans. I think we need to get to the end of these pillars first before we really... There's stuff we're going to start seeding now.
Yeah.
Just to well, that, and I think there's stuff that we've already kind of vaguely seeded. Which seed sprout is another matter, but
Okay.
we've seeded things.
I mean, it's the reason we've been able to do quests like While
Yeah.
Gothic Sleeps and Ritual of the Majorat is because we had these seeds in the game
Yeah.
for years and loads of speculation. And a quest like While Gothic Sleeps, really its impact comes from answering lots of questions.
Sure.
So we have to start asking some new ones
Yeah.
now. So, you know, keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, of course, we've always got loads of quest lines that we haven't finished as well.
Well, exactly.
So,
Yeah, we've got
Yeah.
all the
That's,
old quests, and we've
We're
got.
never going to run out of quests to do.
Yeah, I think
No.
there's plenty we could do. Whether we move to the 7th Age or not, it's not the matter.
Okay. Blade asks, will Ashdale feature in more quests in the future? For now, it seems a bit out of place.
Out of place.
In the sense that you use it for the tutorial, use it for the return to Ashdale, then
Yeah.
after that you never go back there,
Yeah.
unless you're free to play and you want to do the
Well,
return to the boss a few times.
We have. There are no exact plans to sort of go back there, but we do have like the Crassians, a race which we could use in things in the future. We've actually been discussing today. We've actually had a couple of brainstorms, me and the other guys in the watch, about the underwater tutorial island quest that we're doing. Like Crassians have come up in that. Maybe I don't know if it's not really spoiling anything. This is very. I'm letting you guys in on a brainstorm. Like this is hot off the press. But, like we were talking about having the people, like the inhabitants of Tutorial Island, like turned into Crassians and stuff like that. I don't know if it's an idea that we'll pursue, but it's like the lore of Ashdale and stuff can link into other stuff. It does come up. There's no reason we couldn't revisit it sometime in the future.
Okay, cool. And talking about the tutorial island quest, so you've had a couple of meetings today. That's something that's planned for this year?
Yes. So that is another bottle quest. We're rolling
it's a
hot
bottle
off
quest.
the last bottle
Okay.
quest into the next one. Yeah. It's sort of a bottle quest in the sense that I'm not sure what it was labelled as on Rune Labs. I think it might have been medium, so it might be like another slightly larger bottle quest than future ones might be. But like we've got the tutorial island assets already. Like we have that. There's a fair few things we can reuse to make it underwater, like stuff from the aquarium. So in that sense, hopefully we'll be doing a lot of reusing because we have to turn it around in under 2 months and get it out in December. So us guys in the watch have been put under the cosh quite a lot recently. So yeah, hopefully we'll produce something good in that time.
Cool. So Meet Dave wants to know, will we ever discover the identity of the raptor, see him without his armour?
We talked about this. It might be something we reveal later. It's certainly, I think, not something we'd want to do necessarily as a bottle quest, because part of the interesting thing about the raptor is that mystery. When you take that mystery away, the raptor kind of becomes...
Well, whether or not they're still an interesting character,
Exactly.
it could go either way at
It
that
could go
point.
either way. It's either going to be stunningly interesting or not interesting enough. But I think some of the fun is the mystery. I think not every question always needs to be answered.
As well, referring to the raptor as him is just an in-game gender bias.
Yeah.
I don't think we've necessarily even answered whether it's male, female, or something completely different.
Yeah.
We all have our own sort of things that we.
I think we all have our individual ideas of what the raptor can be.
Penguins in a suit of armour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vampire penguin.
Mod
in suit of
Liam
armour.
is very fond of the idea of it being two goblins
Right.
who's controlling it. I'm a fan of it just being a suit of armour and there
Nothing
being
inside.
nothing inside.
Penguins.
Well, yeah, penguins.
It could be like a good way to get into killing all that for penguins, couldn't it?
Yeah, be the
Have you
raptor.
seen Full Metal Alchemist?
Yeah.
It's something
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be like that.
Yeah, could be.
Someone's
So
soul
someone's
bound
soul
to a
trapped
suit of
into
armour.
yeah.
That'd be cool.
A surprisingly dark show, I approved.
Yeah, very good.
Okay. Ultimately, wants to know how much of the pirate finale is actually planned out, if at all.
The pirate finale.
Yeah.
So Mod Wilson has, like, I think all of it planned out in his head.
Okay.
So he has it planned. It might be different when it's developed, but I know he certainly has, and he's been cackling a lot about his plans for it. So he certainly has plans.
Okay. But when those plans come to fruition is not something that we
Yeah, I don't
know or can say.
I don't
or-
think it's planned for any time soon necessarily.
don't think
it
so
might
either.
be something we do in 2016, or it might be a bottle quest, maybe. Probably not.
I don't think so. If it's a finale, it probably needs that
Yeah, I
extra
think it
oomph of
might
a
be bigger.
full-grown quest. Okay, cool. This keeps moving. So Meet Dave wants to know, will the Elder God quest line continue next year, as obviously after Heart of Stone we see that Xenia's actions have begun to wake them up?
Have they though?
Mm,
It's certainly suggested that that's the case.
yeah, it's implied that something bad is happening. I don't think it's quite someone's pressed the alarm clock, but it's to start the ball rolling. It's to imply
It's
that
that
the
seeds
danger
that
is
we were
building.
talking about,
Yeah,
like whether and when they start to grow.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
the Elder God storyline might well be tied into some of the things coming out,
Mm-hmm.
without saying anything. Yeah, maybe. It won't be resolved next year, let's put it that way.
Okay. Daxi wants to know, was Shiho Village quest supposed to be more than just a standalone quest at some point? It seems like a pretty serious quest and directly referenced to Zamorak in 2003, just to be a standalone quest.
It may well have been the intent by the developer at the time, but it doesn't really necessarily suggest there's going to be more to follow on. I mean, a lot of quests back then would just name check entities like gods. It doesn't necessarily mean... I mean, the story itself there seems fairly self-contained and resolved. If there are any loose threads, I mean, I'd like to see some speculation on the forums about them. Maybe it could happen. I mean, it's another of these things, like if Karamja were to win the Rune Labs
I was going to say,
area.
Mordo was quite happy if, like, at the idea of Karamja.
Joe would be quite happy to do that one, I think, yeah.
Yeah, because he's got quite a lot of different environment assets that he's already thought of.
And we haven't had a quest on Karamja for a while, and we did talk about a Karamjan god a couple of years back,
Okay.
although Mod Osborne did, as he does.
We've had the Brink of Extinction, which wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, that's true. That's the Tsar stuff. So I mean, there's another possibility there. So.
Yeah.
I'd love to do stuff with Papa Mambo, who's on Karamja. That'd be awesome.
Okay, yeah, that would be cool.
His little stick.
Burks wants to know, is Max the Traveller from Meeting History somehow related with Max the Max Cape owner in Varrock? If yes, can we see a quest about this?
Is this simply because he's called Max?
I think so.
Is that where it
It's-
boils from?
It's people's last
all
names
people-
that mean they're related.
Yeah,
not
not
their
not
first
the
names.
So basically, in RuneScape, all Maxes are related.
Yeah.
Yeah, as apparently are all Pete's and Bob's of every format. Nope.
Bob.
Okay. Seriously wants to know, will Brassica Prime and Marimbo make appearances in Stiska's Countdown?
Oh man.
You can't not.
Well, it's my team doing the finale quest, so almost certainly they'll be hidden in there somewhere.
Okay.
They are probably not going to be leading players in this game end game.
I'm disappointed.
Well, I mean, Brassica's barely paying attention to what's going on around him, let alone this pointless cabbage of Thousand Truths. He doesn't care about that. Why is everyone getting so uptight when they could just eat delicious cabbage? And Marimbo's hammered in a corner, so it's... we might throw them in as a joke if we've got time. They're unlikely to be big players.
Okay, so I've got some questions about bottle quest that we've already answered. Dino Sparky wants to know, certification states at the end of the Devious Mind quest that players will be able to learn how to use a bow sword in the future. Maybe in the first invention quest?
No.
No?
The first invention quest.
Well, if there's a quest that's related to
we don't
invention
even know
in
if
some
we're
way.
having an invention quest at this point.
No, it's just like, for example, one
It could be
day there
tied
might
to
be
it.
something that's related with invention XP in it or
Yeah.
something.
I think at the time it was created, it was more of a joke than
Yeah.
anything. It's a silly weapon.
Okay.
It's just not plausible, really, as a weapon. And I think mechanically, for it to be what it suggests that it is, it would probably fundamentally break combat in some way. So
Well,
it's best
most
avoided, I
definitely
think.
if it's all 3 stars at once, so
Yeah.
or 2 stars at least.
I have some thoughts about that.
Yeah, and we've got, I think, better ideas for how we might do something like
Yeah.
that. I mean, I've kind of seeded some ideas with Sunspear for the finale for the vampires, but whether or not that happens, we'll see.
Okay. James wants to know, how will Ma gather enough power to even contemplate making her own universe, let alone do it? She spends most of her time dreaming.
Okay, so this is from the Fate of the Gods 2
Yeah.
panel at RuneFest, and it's just to state that lots of the kind of ideas that were suggested for these quests are formative. So they're not necessarily things that are going to make the final cut for the story. We're only going to do things that make sense narratively.
Okay.
So it's kind of just throwing ideas at the wall. These are things that you might see. So we might not necessarily even end up including Ma. We haven't actually designed the quest yet. We've just kind of talked about a few possibilities at the moment. So I wouldn't worry about that sort of thing just yet.
Okay. Another Elder God related question. Since 2016 is the conclusion of the Stone of Jess storyline, or at least Sliske's game, which is involving the Stone of Jess, is Jess herself going to get involved at some point? Is that something that we're expecting? Or?
I think you'll have to wait and see. Is what I'm
Okay.
going to say to that. I mean, that's kind of like
Big spoiler, yeah.
a big spoiler either way. So let's not give an answer either way.
Okay.
Nice.
So can we expect another penguin quest in 2016? So that's kind of maybe in a bottle quest, but we don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
It's not on the cards as a big thing, but whether or not I get the time to shoehorn penguins into something else, and that none of my team stop me, is another matter.
Mod JD wants to know, who's asking me a question from right over there in the production area. Will we see a quest in which players try to save trees from being destroyed by Mod Timbo?
I'm not saying that either way, but I do think he should abuse the JMod powers because it's funny.
Okay, so we've got a few questions from Twitter and from the chat right now. So, Eridin wants to know, will the option to see alternate choices that's planned for Sliske's endgame be added in unrelated future quests? So, for example, in any random quest, we'll be able to see the different outcomes that you could have chosen.
I don't know whether we would make it for every quest. So, Sliske's endgame, obviously, is the sort of finale, is going to have a decent amount of resources available to it and development time spent on it. I don't know whether we can legitimately give that to every single quest. If we were, we would be diminishing kind of what is available otherwise to quest. So I wouldn't expect it for everything. I would expect Sliske's endgame to be a special case.
It would have to be like, when we make the system, it turns out to be really robust and
really easy to plug in, I guess.
so we can do it easily for future quests. But if it turns out to be something that's like, because we haven't done it before, it could turn out to be a real hassle. In which case it would obviously add a lot of development time. So
it's going to have to be a wait and see for that one, I think.
yeah.
Okay, so I guess so what's the first? So the first one we're going to do it is actually Sliske's endgame.
It's going to be Sliske's endgame.
Okay, so that's going to be kind of our test run. Wait and see, and then we can go from there, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We might not even be able to do it in Sliske's endgame. Just to put that out there. If it's going to be too much of a problem, it's not guaranteed.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously everything that was said at RuneFest is like all of them, it's all ideas. So most of the storylines, plots that we've kind of discussed is all like ideas. It's not definite.
Yeah.
Just throwing that back out there because I mentioned this last week as well, and I think Mordos will want to mention that again.
Yeah. I mean, the things we really want to do, and we're going to try our best to do
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
But
I mean, everything that was announced at RuneFest is like kind of in our plans, in the planning for next year. Just the details of those plans are not necessarily finalised. Okay, some more questions from the chat. Will Fate of the Gods 2 reveal any more information about the Ritual of Innovation?
possibly.
Okay.
Probably. Maybe. No. Take your pick.
That was all the answers in one go. You forgot yes, though. But yeah.
Oh,
Very dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Promise. Yeah, it will do. No, it's a topic that's ripe for further exploration. I think what we've already put out there kind of answers most of the questions anyway.
Okay.
I think the most likely way that it's going to be seen next year is in more tiny Majorat.
Okay. Cool. Will Khazad's father finally be revealed next year?
Oh, I thought that was a nice question. And we've got a few ideas. We might reveal that. It depends. If it is, it would only be a small part of the quest.
Okay.
It might just be like a branch of dialogue on one character. Whoever the father is, they're probably disappointed though, because Khazad. He's not.
I tried to make him cooler.
He's not the brightest spark, is he?
Well,
no, not exactly.
And from the same person, Artemis asks, for Fate of the Gods 2, are some Majorat going to get graphical updates, or is that depending on the budget?
I imagine this one's going to have quite a large budget. It's one of the ones we mentioned at RuneFest, so that kind of suggests as much. I think graphical rework is going to be quite divisive with the Majorat.
Okay.
It
So they plugged into quite a lot of different pieces of content as well, so it means
We've done a couple.
That's true.
Like we reworked Sliske, and then we did Zemregal. So like gradually working our way through.
Yeah, there'll probably be like some minor improvements along those sorts of lines. That's
okay.
Probable. I know that Mojan did some like really wildly different looks for each of the Majorat, which is probably not something we would do.
Okay. So Zerotion MS3 wants to know were any of the RuneFest announced quests intended as bottle quests, or are they all intended as main updates? So I guess you just answered that.
Yeah.
They're all kind of main updates,
Yeah.
sort of size, yeah. Bottle quests weren't really, the ones that we're going to do aren't really announced, I guess.
No, bottle quests aren't ones we're announcing. Bottle quests are more where can we find a good story we can tell with the resource we have available, rather than planned out ages in advance.
Okay. Mini Tusker wants to know, can we visit Vampirium permanently after the Vampire finale? That means like we can visit RuneScape after the Fate of the Gods 1?
It's probable. I mean, we have to find the right piece of content to put there.
Again.
The obvious idea being high-level Slayer mobs with Venators, which I have seen some suggestions for as well.
Okay.
So we're thinking along the right lines, but we have to have a good reason to have them there. I'm sure we can find something though.
Okay. Sean wants to know, could we see another quest with fairies? That's true, we haven't actually mentioned fairies in a while.
Could. It's certainly a possibility.
Okay.
I feel like I answered this question somewhere recently.
We talked about fairy dragons
Maybe
at the
someone
beginning of the
tweeted
quest.
me about this. People seem to be bringing up fairies a bit more often. But like, I think there's cooler things we can do. Actually, you might have chimed in as well. Like,
I chimed in with if I were to get a hold of the fairy storyline, there are lots of fairy, real world fairy lore and stories that I would be.
There's some quite cool
I'd be more
ones.
interested in telling the kind of the darker side of fairies, because they're not.
Yeah.
If you look at the sort of myth and stuff, they're horrible, nasty creatures, and I would love to bring that into RuneScape.
Of course
The
you
proper dark, unseely fae. Oh, I'd like that, but I don't know whether they'd let me do that.
Yeah, the actual real fairies from Grimm's
From
Grimm's fairy tales.
Yeah.
They are not nice creatures at all.
Nope.
No. Just having a look through these questions that ModJD selected. Pirate Quest, we talked about that. Death of Chivalry, long-awaited sequel. We've kind of already touched on that as well. Is that something that we're expecting in the near future, or?
I know it's something that ModStew really wants to do.
Yeah.
It's something that I think as a team we'd like to find the opportunity for him to do. But it's not one of those headline quests we're planning.
Okay.
It could end up being a bottle quest, but I'm not sure. I mean, if we could do it justice in a bottle quest.
It's one of those ones that needs to be done justice, but doesn't seem to it doesn't fit into any other sort of any of the other stories we're trying to push forward. So it's like finding a space for it is difficult. But yeah, like you say, I'm not sure we could really fit it into a bottle quest exactly.
There are other bottle quests we could do with the Black Knight's Fortress, but I doubt would be Death of Chivalry 2.
Okay. Okay, cool. Naga Cutie wants to know, will we ever see Mr. Mordo anytime soon? Because we saw him for...
he's in One of a Kind.
One of a Kind, I was going to say,
You can go and talk to him still.
He's in the museum.
Yeah. I mean, will he be featured in a new quest at some point, or...?
I'd quite like to reuse him in something. He'd be a good bottle quest character.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the disadvantage of he's kind of stuck behind a desk.
Tucked away, isn't he?
He won't move beyond that, and I wouldn't expect to see him outside of a desk unless we can wheel the desk round, which is how I would do it. But
I think he quite likes to be behind his desk, though.
Yeah, I think
he's quite happy there.
He's better as a, you can go and learn about this. So there are certainly stories that I would like to tell involving Mordor, but again, it's a bottle quest thing more than a major thing.
I hope this has kind of cleared up what bottle quests are as well, because I think that was maybe a bit of confusion about what bottle quests could be.
I saw someone ask in the chat, maybe we should go over it again, just that it's like a quest developed in a limited time with limited assets.
Yeah.
That's basically it, if anyone's wondering what it is, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the Gobi quest that we released yesterday is supposed to be a bottle quest, kind of an example of what it is. That's not the best example because a lot of things were reused, but in essence it is a bottle quest in the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool, yeah, thanks for that. Meet Dave wants to know, I don't know if we can answer this, will RuneLabs be open for suggestions for bottle quests next year? For example, I want to see a raptor bottle quest. Explaining who he is, so yeah, we already answered the raptor question, but...
I assume you can certainly put your ideas for bottle quests on RuneLabs. Whether we would do give us your bottle quests and we'll pick specific bottle quests out is another matter, but you could certainly suggest them on there, just as you can suggest them on the forums.
I feel like we've said bottle quest a lot during this
Yeah.
stream.
We have.
The word bottle quest.
I've noticed that.
Bottle quest escape in the chat.
Bottle quest escape, yeah. If you're doing a drinking game, you should do bottle quest.
Yeah. Every time
you would be
quest,
hammered
drink
watching
a
this
bottle.
stream.
Okay, Israel got that one. Okay, so Stephen wants to know, how about the Hill Giant quest line for the God list, Titan, Giant, Cyclops versus the gods? So someone's suggesting apparently that we put the Hill Giants together with the God list and make them fight against the gods. So basically the God lists have recruited the Hill Giants.
Oh, what, in some sort of Greek mythology?
I see.
Style
Yeah,
mix
sort
up?
of like Clash the Titans sort of thing.
Sure.
Maybe.
It's an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just reading these out.
The gods would probably squish them, but the players can take out Hill Giants easily enough, so the gods can certainly do it.
Yeah.
But
so there's a question here about making quests replayable like we had in the beta. So this question comes up quite a lot, and it's something that is technically very difficult for us to do. And if we did ever do it, we'd probably do it in batches of like a couple of quests at a time.
yeah, we've had thoughts about how we could do it. The problem is that what a lot of people want is to redo all the old quests, which is a huge amount of development time and resources.
Yeah.
And to be fair, when we've introduced replayability into things, we've not seen a huge uptake on replayability, which means that as far as the sort of data and evidence goes, it shows that it would be a kind of waste of resources to go back and redo all of that.
Yeah.
Did you say we did it in the beta?
Yeah, so we did some of the vampire quests in the beta. I think it was from 1 to 5.
The amount of people that did that was literally like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
No, I think it was like 50 or something.
Maybe there was something we did with replayability where there was literally like 1 or 2 people did it.
Yeah.
And it's like say it was 50. If those 50 people go on the forums and Twitter and like ask loads for replayability, that looks like tons of people asking, but then it's just 50 out of like hundreds of thousands of people doing it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the cold hard stats speak for themselves, unfortunately.
I would always put that resource towards a new quest over replayability.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. After that, you think you need to take into account that like getting access, like going to the beta world is XP waste. It's obviously you're out of the main game. It's not your real character. It's a clone of it. So there's all that's taken into account as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think there'd be as much uptake as for a new quest, for example, as you're saying.
If we were to put it on a new quest and give no rewards for that, we still would be looking at like a very small percentage of people
Yeah.
replaying it. So unfortunately, yeah, it'd be really cool to be able to go back and play like, you know, the quests you get really nostalgic about, but it's just not, like, we would rather put that resource elsewhere.
But I mean, that said, we have continued to experiment with
Yeah.
it. I mean, at the start of this year with Dimension of Disaster and
Yeah.
the plans for the end game next year.
Yeah, I think we would be. There's not a reasonable chance that maybe some future quests could be replayable when we
Yeah.
find a way of doing it. It is literally the going back and making all the other ones that pretty much off the table. Unless we see a real reason for doing it, we'd need to see evidence and data to show it's worth doing.
I think Broken Home was a good example of like a good replayable quest that you can just redo and redo and still get rewards from it, which was nice. That sort of idea.
Some people really hated that.
Yeah.
But some people really enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
it's the kind of thing that it lends itself well to like a time trial, which is a really good way of doing replayability where you can do time trials and that really interests some people and you can attach rewards to it. That's a really good opportunity to do replayability.
But then
some
again,
quests,
some people aren't very fond of that because it means space barring through it.
Yeah, exactly. That Broken Home was also dialogue light, so you didn't have to spacebar through much. So yeah, it does depend on the quest sometimes.
To be honest, the first time I played that, I played it really slowly just to make the most of every environment. Cause it was just so eerie.
Yeah.
You just want to spend some time going around the
We
rooms
tried to
and
make
stuff.
it really immersive. I think that was one of the things we managed to achieve with that quest.
Yeah,
so
I think so as well.
doing it slowly on the first playthrough is definitely the way most people did it.
Yeah. Okay. Got a few more questions here. So one about voice acting. So Mod Osborne touched on this subject a couple of last week a little bit. It's not something that we'd actively look to do for every quest, I don't think.
I think it's one we would save maybe for the right quest if it really, really will use it. The problem is that, again, we've looked into how players actually play, and the number of people who actually listen to the voice acting is minimal.
Okay.
And it's quite a cost for us, and it's also, it limits the amount of dialogue you can do, because every sort of line of dialogue you write is more stuff that you have to get voice acted, which is more resources taken up. So if you think, like if we'd voiced the Light Within, we'd have almost none of the post-quest dialogue for Seren, for example. We'd have to shorten things down. It's just, I think if we have the right quest, then great, but it's not something we're looking at doing for everything just because it's not listened to enough.
We get this
to make it
question
worthwhile.
like a lot.
Yeah.
It seems like every time I'm on the live stream
Yeah.
we get it. And I think the main thing to note is that we do love like when like a quest you've written gets voice acted, that is awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We love it. When you play it through the sound, it's really cool. So we're always gonna be there as something, you know, we'd love to do, and something we'd try and figure out better ways of doing. But currently, like the cost of it, the number of people doing it, just makes it really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. Just two last questions here. So when's the Master Questscape going to be released? And that's Mod Manty's working on at the moment. I don't think any of us really know when that's going to be
I think
released.
ask Mod Manty.
Yeah, just tweet
tweet
him.
tweet Mod Manty.
At JagXmanty,
At JX
presumably.
Manty, yeah, I think it is. At JX Manty. He'll be able to give you more. Yeah, Manti. And that will give you a better idea of when it's coming out. He's working on it. I think he's got his own goals. I don't know if he's got a release date planned yet.
Isn't he working on it in his personal project time?
I think so, but I think Mod Kelpie wanted to give him a bit more time to work on it during his normal work days as well. But with, I think that got delayed a bit with the release of Darkscape, since that was the ninjas working on it. So there you go. And the last question I've got here, will Death be part of any more quests?
Was that will Death be
Will
part?
Death be part of any more quests, like the character Death?
Maybe. That's what I'll say.
You just kill him off, wouldn't you?
I would kill off Death, as I would kill every character that gets anywhere near me.
I think he's a character we like and want to
Yeah.
play more stuff.
Yeah.
He's going to feature in the Halloween event that's coming up.
Okay.
So play it, talk to him. He says some cool stuff.
I think we'd want to have him in Nomad's Elegy as well.
Yes.
I mean, he's chasing down Nomad anyway, so it'd be good to do more with that story.
And I really want an Underworld quest where like Ixlaran and Death are taking on the Underworld.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
That'd be cool, yeah. Okay, I think that about wraps up this developer Q&A. We're talking about Halloween. We've got a Q&A next week that's going to show off some of the Halloween event. So I believe yourself and
I'll be back again.
Mod Jesus will be on the couch.
Mod Jesus. Mod Jesus.
Mod Jesus. Yeah. Tweet him if you want as well.
Yeah.
Tweet everybody. So we'll be talking about that and talking about quests as well. We'll be doing a director's commentary next week, just after next week's dev Q&A. So there'll be a Gobi quest director's commentary. So if you like the which one do we do? Lord of Vampirium quest director's commentary. Check that one out as well.
Well, check it out even if you didn't like it, because it would probably be better.
No, you did fine. It was really good. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that this evening, Mod JD and myself are going to be killing 1,000 Krills and Zillianas and comparing the loot and see who wins. And I believe there's a forfeit for the person who loses. I don't know what that is yet. I'm dreading it. If it's like anything like the cocktails that we did for the beach party, that's going to be awful. Anyway,
It's going to be bad.
It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad, apparently, says Mod JD. Okay, well, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Right.